Okay, so let's get started. My name is Chris Gleason, and I'm here with Donna King, and collectively we are Results Coaching, and we'll be your coaches for today's session. Donna and I help clients or help individuals, leaders, and their teams to identify the things that really matter the most to them. Then we help them put a plan together to make that happen and coach them to get the results that they want. So today we're here in support of you as individuals who might be facing uncertainty, confusion, maybe even frustration based on what we've been through in 2020 and the chaotic start we've had to 2021. Between politics and the weather, it's been an amazing year already. So feeling frustrated or confused is normal under these circumstances. But we want to help you turn things around and fill the rest of this year with new opportunities and new horizons to reach. So in today's webinar, we're going to be teaching you 5 simple but proven principles to help you transform the way you think and perform. These 5 foundational principles come from the Best Year Yet system, which is a coaching program that Donna and I use with our clients. In a few short minutes, you'll be able to experience the power of these principles and immediately put your learnings into practice. You'll learn the attitude and actions needed to set you on a path to more positive outcomes for the rest of 2021. So some of you may be familiar with the coaching process and may have worked with a coach before. Maybe you've either worked with me or with Donna. But for those of you who haven't experienced it, coaching is defined by the International Coaching Federation as a creative and thought-provoking process that inspires people to maximize personal and professional potential. So for this reason, we've designed the webinar to be interactive. So please use the chat box and your worksheet to capture answers to questions that we prompt for reflection. We have provided a worksheet for you to download from the online event page. And I think, Donna, do you have a link that you can put in the chat box?
I just added it.
All right, good.
In case.
So you can click on that, or if you feel comfortable, just jot down your thoughts on whatever piece of paper you have at hand. I'll be monitoring the chat box and can support you in any way you might need during or even after the webinar. Periodically, we will pause to ask for volunteers to share. And at that point, you can unmute yourself, or if you'd like, you can just type your answers in the chat box and then we'll share them with others. So we encourage you to turn off your cell phone for the next hour and just receive this gift with an open mind and heart. So I'll turn it over now to Donna.
Great. Thank you so much, Chris. So who on this webinar has created a personal or professional plan either this year or last year? You can go ahead and write your answers in the chat box. Maybe it's been a team plan or a strategic business plan or even goal setting in any way, shape, or form. If you've done it, please do type in the chat box. Yes, I've done both. That's great. That's great. So any trouble staying on track? Or any gaps between what you want and what you really get? Yeah, a lot of different kinds of plans can be done. That's great. Well, just doing a plan or setting goals in any way, shape, or form is that, you're part of an elite group, because research shows that less than 5% of the population actually sets goals. So you are definitely poised for success if you do set goals. Now, why do you think that we don't always get the results we want? Any thoughts on that? Go ahead and write in the chat box, and Chris will read out your answers.
Lack of execution.
Very good. Anything else? Any other thoughts?
Loss of motivation.
Right. especially coming off this past year. A lot of people have been a bit stuck, or even isolation prevents, a lack of accountability, unrealistic goals. Absolutely. So, what we have found through working with clients in a variety of industries, we don't get what we want. And the things that are common with everyone is a limiting attitude. We don't learn from our lessons and don't deal with the things that really hold us back. Another thing is lack of action. Sometimes we don't have a clear plan of attack or direction, and no focus on the priorities that really matter most. And then, yes, someone said lack of accountability. Let's face it, some of us really have poor follow through skills. And when we don't have a visibility to progress, we can typically have a very low say do ratio, right? Now, one of our mentors, Ginny Ditzler, who is the author of this book, Your Best Year Yet, she developed a process to create a success plan based on 5 key principles that address these issues and really do transform the way you think and the way you perform in all areas of your life. So, the 5 principles of transformation to help you achieve success in the areas you choose to address are: number 1, acknowledging and appreciating successes. Number 2, to learn and apply your lessons from the past. 3, shifting limiting beliefs and assumptions that get in the way of progress. Number 4 is about living your values and resisting the negative drivers that stray you off path and away from the person that you long to be. And it really, places you in a place of consistent, authentic action. And then the 5th principle of transformation is setting and focusing on goals. That's putting your energy towards the actions that will make the biggest difference to your success and help you increase your say-do ratio. Now, we're going to drill into each of these as I guide you through a series of thought-provoking questions to help you unleash that inner wisdom and really get in touch with the attitude and the actions needed to achieve the things that are meaningful to you. But first, let's take a moment to capture a vision of what success looks like to you. So, imagine your life a year from now. If you were to have your best year yet, what would it look like? Consider all areas of your life, and for the purposes today, just write a few words or phrases to describe what you will be doing. How will you be feeling? If you want, you can even draw a quick picture that illustrates that, how you will feel or how you want to feel or the things you want to be doing.
Things you might want to achieve.
Yeah. So consider all areas of your life. Consider your health, relationships, hobbies, things at work, at home, financial management, or even personal and professional growth. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do this. So write on your worksheet. Just jot down the things that come to mind. Chris, I'm going to ask you help me be the timekeeper too, okay?
Got it. another minute.
We've got some great notes here.
30 seconds.
Okay, let's finish up.
Time's up.
Okay, great. Now look at the things that you wrote down, and I want you to hold that vision through the rest of this webinar. Okay, let's keep that top of mind. So our first principle is about appreciating successes. And it's based on this model, which we call the cycle of productivity. Now, I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. It's really just the 4 phases of getting anything done. So the first phase is it's getting started. You know, you have an idea, you start to create, and then you decide what to do. The second phase is about doing, acting, executing, making it happen. In that third phase, it's about completing the project. It's about finishing. It's about putting a bow on it. That's what our partner, Karen Mori, always talks about, putting a bow on it, finishing it. And then the fourth phase is acknowledging. It's about celebrating the good and all that we've learned. Now, some of us are better at parts of or in certain phases than others. I know that I'm probably the best at phase 1 and phase 2, but I have a really hard time in the third phase, completing. And I think that's because I'm a maximizer. I just keep polishing that pearl. And I tend to forget about phase 4. So type in the chat box where you may excel or perhaps get stuck. Chris, where are you? Do you have a sense of where you excel or maybe get a little stuck?
Yeah, I'm the same as you, Donna. I'm all about getting things going.
Mm-hmm.
And I too am a maximizer and a bit of a perfectionist. So it's hard for me to say good enough and put a bow on it. Mm-hmm. And I'd also like to mention, Donna had talked about acknowledging all of the wonderful things that happened, but we also acknowledge the things that didn't go so well. Right now we're looking at accomplishments and we'll be moving on to disappointments, but just to know that we learn lessons from both. We've got, somebody who's really good at acknowledging. Nice job, Greg. And Sarah gets stuck in number 3. Join the club, Sarah.
Well, the truth is that many of us really don't take the time for phase 4, and we just move on to the next part of the cycle. We go to phase 1 again. So what happens if we skip the acknowledging portion of it? Any thoughts on that? Go ahead and type in the chat box. Yeah, we feel unappreciated.
Run out of gas.
Mm-hmm. Burn out. You can keep making those mistakes over and over again if you don't learn from them. And you know what? We don't have the energy or the motivation to do or move forward. So pausing to reflect is good to do at any time of year, but it's especially beneficial when we look ahead to the next 12 months. It forces us to slow down and appreciate the achievements in the good and the challenging times. It inspires gratitude and connects us with those who have helped us along the way, whether it's people we work with, our friends, or our family. It helps us determine the things that we don't want to repeat in the upcoming year. And it fuels the creativity needed to plan for what's next. You know, many of us go through life feeling undervalued and underappreciated. And as a result, we lose the confidence in ourselves and our ability to make our own dreams come true and to be masters of our own destinies. So, our biggest obstacle is that we don't take the time to appreciate progress and the achievements from ourselves and others. So, before we put the last 12 months behind, we're going to take some time to reflect on the results from last year and to celebrate the discoveries and appreciate achievements and learn from the challenges and disappointments. So, principle number one is acknowledge and appreciate successes. Some of you may have been on this webinar. We do a series of webinars, and last month we did a webinar about creating your own best advice. So this might seem a little familiar to some of you, but just stick with us. There's a lot more here. So take a moment to reflect on the last 12 months, to acknowledge the accomplishments that you feel good about, both big and small. Now, I know it's been a challenging year for many of us, but the thing about challenging times is that it tends out to bring out the best in us. You know, just think about how resilient you were, or how you connected or supported a loved one, or perhaps you forged a new partnership, or pivoted your business to a new and more profitable direction. So there's so much that can come out of the good and the challenging times. So jot down a few thoughts on your worksheet. I'm going to give you about a minute and a half to do that. And again, consider all areas of your life: work, relationships, finances, recreation, home life, community. Okay. Okay.
30 seconds.
Okay, let's finish up. Okay, so now I want you to congratulate yourself. Look at this list. Look at this list of accomplishments, achievements. High fives all around. Okay. So now most of us find it easier to remember the bad than the good. Unfortunately, we tend to hold a lot of negative energy around disappointments. So now's your chance to acknowledge your biggest disappointments from the year and let them go. We need to release the energy to be able to move forward. This is not the time to feel bad or place blame, because you know what? The most successful people are the ones that can see their mistakes for what they are learn from them, and move on, right? So go ahead and on your worksheet, jot down your disappointments. I'm going to give you another minute for this. And remember, look at all areas of your life.
It's been a minute.
Okay, very good. So how did that feel? Go ahead and write in the chat box what comes to mind. Relief? Not quite. Well, I was just going to say not quite as many disappointments as you thought. Mm-hmm. Freeing. I love it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Very good. Okay, the second principle of transformation is to learn your lessons. So we want to replicate the things that have gone well, and we want to eliminate the things that didn't go so well. So take a look at your accomplishments first and ask yourself, how did I achieve that? What was my secret? Now, there are also great lessons to be learned in the things that didn't go so well, or as you expected, or as you planned. And think about what you could have done to avoid this failure or this shortcoming. And as you ask yourself these questions, think about, what was your lesson? So what we're going to do here is we're going to turn your biggest lesson into one guideline, one piece of advice that you can apply moving forward. This is going to help you take the right action and make the right decisions and set the right priorities as you move forward. So here you go. On your worksheet, write down your biggest lesson and create one guideline from that lesson. So an example here is Chris and I know, we know from experience that networking generates referrals for our business, right? So that's a lesson. So a guideline is make networking a priority. So now it's your turn. What you want to do to create a guideline is make it positive, make it short, and make it memorable. And these are a few examples of some guidelines that we've seen through the years. On the right-hand side, be clear about expectations, be accountable, let go of what I can't control, keep my promises, and so on. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to identify your biggest lesson and convert that to a guideline. Okay? Go.
Another minute.
And you may find that you have more than one too. That's okay. Okay, finish up. So you are the best source of wisdom for yourself. You are the best source of advice. So who's willing to put one of their guidelines in the chat box and share with us? One of mine this year is work smart to be fit. My lesson is definitely about the fact that I put too much energy into my work, and I don't make time for self-care or working out. So that is one of my personal guidelines, is to work smart and be fit.
And one of mine is be still. I am constantly running from one thing to another. And when I do finally walk away from my desk after working at home 10 or 11 hours, I turn on the TV.
Mm-hmm.
So I've decided I need quiet time where nothing is going on in the background. Be still.
Yeah. I love this one. Stay real, connected to myself and others. That's beautiful. Mm-hmm. Feel free to share any others.
Guidelines are just pieces of advice that we give to ourselves with the intention of having more good results and fewer of the bad.
Mm-hmm. Integrating balance between work and life. Be more intentional when at home and with my wife. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, nice one.
Mm-hmm.
Underestimated my inner guidance, so let intuition be my only guide. Very nice.
That's beautiful. Beautiful, Deb. Okay, let's move on to the next principle of transformation. Principle number 3 is shifting limiting beliefs and assumptions. Unless we wake up to the negative beliefs and assumptions that we have about ourselves or others or what's possible, we limit ourselves. So take a look at this model here. A paradigm is a belief or an assumption about yourself, about someone else, or a situation. It causes a behavior and it leads to a result. So when we don't get the results we want, we tend to change the actions. But the truth is that we need to understand and shift the limiting belief behind it. So think about the areas of your life where you're not achieving what you want or behaving in the way that reflects your best self. And ask yourself, how do I limit myself? And what do I do to explain my limiting behaviors? Those limiting behaviors are the excuses that you give yourself. And we all make them, right? And, that's where the limiting beliefs or your paradigms lie. And once we identify our limiting beliefs, then we can work to shift the focus to empowering vision. So this is a great way to identify limiting actions and beliefs. And this is an example of mine from over 10 years ago when I started my coaching and consulting business. There's a sentence here. You can fill in the blanks for yourself. As an example, I love to make that call to close the deal on the proposal that I submitted, but I don't. That's a limiting action because I think they will think my fees are too high. Well, that's a limiting paradigm or an excuse. Because you know what? I have no way of knowing that that is the truth. That's simply negative self-talk in my head, that monkey mind, I call it, or that incessant chatter that is always in the back of our mind that can block progress. So to shift a limiting paradigm, you must focus on a new a new way of thinking, a new mindset, something that's more empowering, that tosses the old one on its head. So, as an example, in this, the paradigm that I came up with and I adopted for myself was my gifts are valued and in demand. Feel the difference? That's huge. And once you put that into practice, once you repeat that mantra and put that into focus over time, it becomes a reality. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes on your worksheet to fill in the blanks, to discover your limiting paradigm, and to craft a new empowering mindset for yourself. Now, this is something that you're going to want to drill into deeper after this webinar. Chris and I, when we work with our clients, we really do give quality time to this process and we coach them through it. So I'm going to give you a little time and we'll see where you're at. Okay, about 30 more seconds, right, Chris?
Yep.
Okay, as you finish up, we'd love to hear your new paradigm, your new empowering paradigm, a new reality that you'd love to fully demonstrate. So please do, when you're finished, write your new paradigm in the chat box.
Well, I think Sarah has decided she likes your new paradigm because hers is, I am valued and in demand.
Oh,
And I'm not sure if this is your shift here, Sarah, that 20% of your effort gets 80% of the results rather than the other way around.
I was working with a client last week, and it was actually a team, and they came up with, we are resilient and powerful together, which I thought was brilliant.
Nice.
And I'll share another one of my paradigm that I worked on this year is, I am a waterfall of abundance. That sings to me.
Yeah. And mine is, I have everything I need. This is my moment.
Ah, beautiful.
Feels good.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's empowering, right? And it takes time. You know, this doesn't happen overnight. You know, we've lived with these negative mindsets or, you know, negative beliefs for a while, and, you know, our monkey mind does a trick on us. So it really is about putting it, you know, gaining awareness, putting it in front of us and focusing on it all the time. It's a new mantra for ourselves. Okay, let's move on. Okay, the 4th principle of transformation is about living your values. So if we want to turn things around, it's important to be clear about what our beliefs are and what our core values are. Values are the fundamental beliefs that guide and motivate our attitude and actions. So, why are values important? Go ahead and put your thoughts into the chat box. Why are values so important? When we did this last week, someone had said, the standards of our integrity is our reputation, which absolutely true. They're a moral compass.
Values say what's important to us.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Our values, they help us determine what's important to us and worthwhile. They're the motive behind our purposeful actions, whether good or bad. And we long, as human beings, we long for our values to be demonstrated, and they often clear the path to authentic action. So, as you think about this upcoming year, what values may you tap into, and how do they connect with your voice of wisdom? So, make a list of about 3 to 6 values that you cherish the most. Many of you will instinctively know what your core values are. But if you don't, there's a short list right here that might prompt some thought. So go ahead and I'll give you a minute or so to jot down the ones that you think rise to the top. Which values, values here speak to your head, your heart, and your gut. Chris, I was just thinking that before we got on this webinar, we were talking about patience. That's a value, right?
Yeah.
Now, as you reflect on these values that you're writing down or wrote down, how well are you currently living these values? Rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10. Give yourself a score next to each of those values. How well are you demonstrating these today? Not where you want to be, but where are you today? You see some places where perhaps you might need some work? Are there some values that might be compromised or being compromised? Perhaps you have a strong need for work-life balance, and the organization you're working for doesn't provide the flexibility or remote working arrangements that allows you to express that value fully. You know what? If that's being compromised, perhaps you want to decide to, seek another position, or maybe there's an opportunity to, I don't know, become self-employed. So it's important to recognize where your values might be compromised. To live a life of integrity and to build success, we must consciously and actively make them the foundation of our daily choices and activities. Okay. Now, this 5th principle of transformation, setting and focusing on SMART goals. we don't have time to spend on this, but what we will be doing is just, we want you to consider how you set the goals and how important it is to set SMART goals. And when you craft your intentions, make them specific, make them measurable. And the M for measurable, yes, but more importantly, meaningful. Do they have purpose? Do they feel like gifts that you want to achieve? Do they matter? Attainable. Are they at least 80% probability of getting done? I do believe in stretch goals, but we want to make sure they're attainable. Relevant and results oriented. And then time bound. Right?
And you want to make sure that your goals, when you write them, don't read as a list of shoulds.
Mm-hmm.
Donna and I like to say that you need to stop shoulding on yourself. If you can write your goals in a way that speaks to you, that sparks motivation, that's what really turns them into gifts instead of a list of to-dos.
Right. And you want to make sure that your goals are in alignment with your vision of success. When you think about when we first started this, what your best year yet looks like, right? What your vision of success is. So ensure that they're in alignment with your vision and in sync with your core values and your standards of integrity. And then, consider, how will you stay accountable to your goals? What structures will you use to navigate your plan? Okay. So there you have it. Those are the 5 principles of transformation and the first step to achieving the things that matter most to you. So what I'd like you to do is to take a look through your worksheet, all those notes you jotted down, and think about what will turn around for you or be different if you consistently followed your guideline, if you consistently focused on your new empowering paradigm, and if you lived in alignment with your core values. And especially focusing on those goals. What would make the biggest difference to you? Give that some thought.
Greg offered something about guidelines that I think is very profound. He said that guidelines are the guardrails of your life.
Well said.
Yeah, it makes me visualize a guideline on either side of me, keeping me down the path.
Right. Yeah, I love that.
Down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Greg.
Great. Okay, so now what I'd like you to do is, in the chat box, just type in your discoveries about, as you look through your worksheet, and the things that have just kind of materialized and emerged as you look at this. What are some discoveries? What are some things you learned today? Go ahead and write it in the chat box. So someone says here, excuses get in the way. Mm-hmm.
But they're so easy.
It's important to manage your mindset. What else? I know last week when we did another webinar, people were talking about how the values portion was such an eye opener. Something that we don't typically, think about or bring to the forefront. Okay. Now, one last question. What were your learnings from today? And, what do you need? And what is the first step you will take? So this is coaching. And coaching is all about learning and taking authentic action from your learnings. So before you leave here today, what I'd like you to do is type one of your accountabilities in the chat box. What will you do as a result of this webinar?
Sarah shared, keep moving forward. This is consistent with what I've been working on. Nice. Thanks, Sarah.
Someone says, do what you know to do. Do what I know to do.
Yeah, getting back to that wisdom. We're so smart about ourselves. We know how we sabotage ourselves, and we know what we need to do to stay on the straight and narrow and get things done. And sometimes it just takes a little bit of help and support from somebody who cares and understands. Somebody like a coach.
Or a partner in some way. I think Chris and I always recommend, after doing this kind of introspective activity, it's really important to kind of digest it and think about what perhaps might you need from another person. Share it with a trusted coworker, friend, family member. Human beings want to naturally help each other. We just don't always, do that or take the time. You don't think, right? But it really, we want to help each other.
Allowing someone to help you is like giving them a gift.
Right, right. So please do reach out to others.
Deborah's written, our core values are what's important to us, and it includes motivations and vision. I know this at a much higher level because you married biggest lesson with new guideline, the new guardrail of my life, quoting Greg. Profound thanks. Thank you, Deborah. That's nice. That's great to hear. Thank you.
Great. Okay. So, Chris, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
All right. Well, this wraps up our session for today. We want to thank you and remind you that what we went through today is just an abbreviated version of our overall process that's designed to help you create a personal plan for long-term success. And you can do that in a half-day online workshop that we'll be facilitating on April 9th. Or if you'd like, you can call one of us to schedule a one-on-one session. But if you decide to slip in the workshop, we'll guide you through these questions and more. There are a total of 10 questions that we take people through. And the outcome is a one-page plan focused on your top priorities for the year. And you'll be receiving a 12-month subscription to our online planning and tracking system so that you can track your progress in reaching your goals. It's a wonderful program, one that we highly recommend. So in addition, you will create a personal one-page plan, explore the area of your life where you most need a breakthrough, create goals that feel like gifts you're giving yourself instead of that list of shoulds, develop a process to be accountable to your plan. And as I mentioned, you'll have 12 months access to our planning and tracking system. And optionally, if you would like to, you can continue with monthly review sessions, either one-on-one coaching with me or Donna, or group coaching with cohorts from the workshop. Group coaching is a great way to meet other people, built-in support, and it can be a less expensive alternative to one-on-one coaching. So we want to remind you that we are available to support you with one-on-one coaching engagements. We love doing team coaching within organizations. So if your organization needs some help, let us know. Group coaching, as I mentioned. And we also do a number of lunch and learns and workshops. So if your company has a need for a particular topic, let us know and we'll dig into our bag of tricks and see if we can help you out there. We have some upcoming workshops on March 25th from 4 to 5 p.m. We have Emotional Intelligence Matters. It's really a hot topic in industry today, or in the business world today. Emotional intelligence is more important than IQ and can be a greater indicator of success. So you might want to tune in for that webinar. We also have our half-day workshop that we mentioned on April 9th. And later in April, Donna, do you have a date for the Breakthrough Manager?
It's April 20th, actually. Breakthrough Manager. It's to help a manager feel more confident, effective, and it's taking a coaching approach to management. And it's a half a day. I think it starts at 8:30 in the morning on the 20th.
Okay. So if you're interested in any of those events, you can go to Eventbrite to register or visit us at www.resultscoaching.us. Anything else, Donna?
No, I think we're good. I want to thank everybody for your time today. And our hope is that you gain some incredible value here to help you move forward in 2021.